Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play and earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterlands. And in today's video, I wanted to discuss a topic that's, well, probably on a lot of people's minds for quite some period of time here, and that is understanding how many real players Splinterlands has. And what I mean by real is I mean by unique human players in the game, because it's significant because that can help tell us how the market is performing, how much capital exists for purchasing potentially new items or assets in the game, and give us kind of a measuring stick or frame of reference to really understand the health of the game and its economy. And the reason why that's important to understand real human players and unique human players is because, tying a real human player to an account as a unique player, again, really helps understand the data. And I think there's been a lot of cases where there's been a lot of daily active users or daily active account numbers that have been tossed around on dashboards like Peak Monsters or DApp Radar, and we just don't know how accurate those numbers are as it pertains to real users because of the ability for people to have multi-accounts or multiple spellbooks or alt accounts. Now, what is interesting here for us right now with the land survey and the land reveal is I think we can really understand kind of a quantity or number or like order of magnitude of where we stand with real human players based on this kind of unique period of the game. And I want to give a shout out to Splinter Cards, the tool here. They have a section on their website here called Lands under Splinter Cards, where you can drill down into by regions, by players, and go into rich lists as well, and really see a lot of interesting data. So shout out to Splinter Cards here, and I'll leave the link in the video description below if you're unfamiliar with this website. But what I want to look at today is the land rich list. And what this is showing us on this particular rich list is the total plots in Pretoria that have been claimed by an account or a user. Now, the reason why this is interesting is for a couple of reasons. One is more than likely, if you have land, you've probably surveyed and claimed it under one single account for the most part, because of the way DECB worked from a soulbound perspective. And what this shows us here is, well, it shows us everyone who's claimed land at this point and their unique account name and the number of plots that they've claimed. You can see here, there's some folks that have, at least 4 regions. You can see here, Cryptomancer has 3 regions. You got Brybro, Matt Clark, Neil McSpadden, and others like YGG SPL have claimed 2 regions. But it's not really the region holders that we're really looking for here. Is we're looking at the unique number of users or accounts that have claimed a plot of land. And if we scroll down here, I'm not going to necessarily scroll down through all this, but you can see here, if we get into the people that just own, starting with more than 1 plot, it's actually a total of 1,906 accounts have claimed or own a total of more than 1 plot of land. And if we scroll all the way down, including all of those accounts that own or have claimed at least 1 plot of land, what we see here is that 3,237 unique accounts have claimed a plot of land in Splinterlands. And again, that's important as a baseline to really say, well, for sure, for the most part, with a good amount of, I would say, certainty, again, people could claim plots of land on multiple accounts, but probably a minority have done that. So we can say with pretty good certainty that there's at least 3,237 unique human players playing Splinterlands actively as we speak, because land was just able to be claimed, well, basically in the last few weeks. Now, what it also can then lead us to a estimate here on the real human players is to say, of the Splinterlands population of active players playing the game, how many active players really will own land at this point in time? Because land, well, it's not that cheap. It's at least $60 to $70 for a common plot. And actually, if we go into Peak Monsters, I can give you the exact price here. Right now, if you wanted to buy a common plot of land, it's going to cost you $60 to buy one plot of land here. So it's not inexpensive to own a plot of land. So obviously 100% of the human players in Splinterlands would not own a plot of land. Now the question becomes, and this is up for debate, obviously, an opinion, is it 50% of the active players own a plot of land, which means you would take this 3237 number and times it by 2 to get roughly 6,500 players in Splinterlands that are real, unique human players? Or is it more like a number of 1 out of every 5 landowners owns a plot of land, and for every plot of land owner, you have 4 other players in Splinterlands that don't own a plot of land? In that particular case, if we did the math here, if we had 1 out of every 5, basically that would give us a number of about 16,000 unique human players in Splinterlands. If we said, well, more realistically, the number may be, for example, 1 out of every 10 players in Splinterlands owns a plot of land. And I guess just make it simpler, 1 out of every 11, which would give us a 10x factor here. That means we would have roughly 32,370 unique players in Splinterlands. So is the number 50%, 1 out of every 2? Is it more like 1 out of every 5, which would be 20% of landowners represent the playing community in Splinterlands? Or is it more like 10%? Of all the players in Splinterland, only 10% of those active players own land, which would give us a number around 32,000 active players. It's up for debate. It really depends on what you think the population of landowners is versus active player population, but it gives you a range to work with there, right? Somewhere between, let's say, 3,237 up to 32,000 or more, depending if you think it's 10% or perhaps even less than 10% own a single plot of land in Splinterlands. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think the land ownership percentage is for daily active real human players in Splinterlands? And remember, if we look at Peak Monsters from a dashboard perspective, including all bots and automation right now, we can see specifically as of the last 24 hours, give me 1 second, we can see that the daily active accounts right now is listing it at 71,567. So a percentage of those daily active accounts of that 71,567 are going to be bots. What percent is that? And how can we use the land numbers that we just saw here from Splinter Cards to help derive that? Again, leave your thoughts in the comments below. What percent do you think of active players own land? And what do you think the real human player base of Splinterlands is? I'd be curious to get your opinion. And until next time, keep stacking those stats.
That's entertainment.